Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about Deathless Thanos. The day is coming, it's almost here after a year of this Deathless chase, jumping through all these hoops, doing all this content, getting all the pieces for the other champions. We are finally almost on the day where we can do the Mausoleum quest to get Thanos and then go through the Necropolis one more time to get his dupe. And you will also get a bunch of Sig Stones for him in that. In my opinion, he is the best source for these Sig Stones. But I just want to let you know, on this channel, we are not about overhyping stuff that doesn't deserve to be hyped. But given that this is not a crystal buying situation, this is a champion that you can earn if you've been playing hard for all of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. I'm going to be hyping this guy a little bit because he is that good. However, we are going to mostly stick to the facts, look at his abilities, see where he lands in the game, go over everything, show lots of gameplay, and it should be a really good time. So a few reasons I'm excited. They assigned DLL champ design on this. If you know anything about DLL, he is one of my favorite champ designers and a close friend, and just everything he does, he makes really well-balanced, smartly designed champions. And for the hard task of creating a playable Thanos in the game, I don't think there's anyone better than him. And I do believe that the intent was for this Thanos to be one of the top sort of S-tier cosmic champions in the game, and I do believe he is going to land there. So now we're not going to do a full background, a full breakdown of everything. You can see I'm just kind of scrolling through the abilities if you want to read as I'm talking, but the structure of this video is right now we're just going to do some quick hits up front, and then we're going to go straight into gameplay. You'll learn how to play this guy as you watch my gameplay, and we're going to use some of the CCP map as well as some real fights like Labyrinth of Legends and things like that. Now, a few questions: awakened or not, right? It's a very, very strong awakened ability, and SIGs make him even stronger. So we'll get into why later, but I do highly recommend, you're about to get 100 SIGs for Deathless Champions. I'm going to give him all of them so that he is SIG 120. Now, some quick hits about his abilities. First and foremost, amazing armor control, right? I think only Gladiator at about SIG 200 and possibly Medusa and Scream and maybe even Venompool in some situations is better, but he has top tier armor control. He has a really strong Energize. He needs to throw lots of specials. That is going to help him, and it can't be controlled by stuff like ability power rate. He has a panic debuff. This completely avoids miss and evade. That is so powerful. That will just like, the normal disruption things in fights often will not be a problem for him. He has a massive health pool, he has a decent regen, and he has protection. So after taking a big hit or hitting a certain threshold of health, you won't take much damage after that for a short period of time. The core of his kit is building necrotic energy by landing hits, and then eventually you will get these yellow counterpunch charges, and by using them and going unstoppable, you build charges faster. The other thing I love about him is that every special and every heavy attack, every attack basically has a unique ability, and it's easy to remember. I remember the older champ designs where it was like the special one does this, the special 2 does this, the heavy attack does this. And if you just remember what they all do, then it makes him super easy to play. So in general, heavy is for armor control. Special 1 is for lifesteal and for building furies and ramping. Special 2 is your big cash out moment for big damage. It's both red and yellow with armor breaks and furies. And then the special 3, kind of like most champions, it enhances him for longer fights, and it also places a passive version of the corrosion. So if for some reason you're going up against somebody that needs passive damage, then you can do that. The SIG ability, it makes all of his abilities expire slower. At SIG 120, where I'm aiming for him, it's somewhere between 15 and 30% slower all fight, which is phenomenal. And also, he starts off the first fight of the quest with 19 necrotic energy, and the protection is stronger. So that is the quick hits on this guy. Let's get straight into some gameplay. Alright, so the first fight we're going to do is a Civil Warrior with about 1 million health. Obviously not the hardest defender, but this dude gets a lot of armors, and I want to show how you can completely shut off armor. So you'll notice when we throw a heavy attack at the end of a combo, it does the America Chavez thing where you get the passive stun, and when you connect, it will basically pulverize the armors. If you get 30 necrotic energy though, it will place this armor shatter and a big armor break. As a reminder, when armor shattered is up, no passive or active armors can activate. So basically we've turned off armor for the rest of the fight. Now in this length of a fight, we're going to throw our special ones to ramp. You'll notice that we have a Genesis passive, which means all the damage we do to him is going to act kind of like a small life steal for us to heal back the chip damage. And by throwing 3 special ones in this type of rotation, we already have our maximum of 8 Fury buffs, and then now we're just using these unstoppable charges off of the counterpunch to build more necrotic energy so that we can get a big special 2 that is basically going to kill him. You'll notice when we land hits, it will give a little bit of necrotic energy, but then when we land the counterpunch charge, it will land a lot of necrotic energy, and that is how you basically ramp. You get the corrosions, which is a new debuff. It is a physical damage over time that is based on how low their armor is, and then additionally just the big yellow numbers from furies and armor breaks at the same time. It's just a lot of damage, a lot of sources of damage, and it looks great. So that was 1,000,000 health in about 1:10. Next, we're going to do the Labyrinth of Legends Star-Lord, and this is sort of an impractical fight to show what his maximum damage is for 3.3 million health, and it is absolutely insane. Now, of course, Star-Lord has very easy animations, but one of the things we're going to watch in this fight is using these special attacks to activate the counterpunch charge, and then using that to create our opening. So we're going to build our way up. We've already thrown our heavy to get the armor shatter, and we're going to try to keep that up for the whole fight, and we're going to use the special 3. The special 3 makes everything easier for his kit, and it also gives you more necrotic charges. So in long form content, like if there's more than 1.5 million health, I would recommend going to the special 3. It's just going to make the rest of the fight a little bit easier, and it also puts a passive corrosion on him. So I guess there is a little bit of utility there in terms of, you know, if they are debuff immune or something, you can still get a little bit of your damage off of this passive. It just requires spamming special 3s, which isn't super practical. So we've already thrown 2 special 1s. This Energize is helping us a ton, and the goal now is to throw our special 2s with as much necrotic energy as possible, and maintaining this armor shatter and maintaining these 8 furies. In order to do that, we need to keep hitting these counterpunch charges. Again, they can be off of a basic hit, they can be off of the last hit of a special. That keeps everything paused, it keeps you ramping, and we throw another special 2. You can see that we are hitting like 36k for the actual white numbers, and then the corrosion itself is ticking away. We've got 9 stacks of that, which is close to the maximum that we can get based on the way we're playing right now. But yeah, and the other thing is this guy's an absolute tank. So like we're just taking these specials to the block, they're barely doing any damage. Right there we hit the damage cap. That probably would have hit for like 90k on that crit if it hit maximum damage. But yeah, that's basically how you play this guy. You utilize your counterpunch charges. If you've ever played Killmonger, you kind of know how these work. But the nicer thing about these counterpunch charges is that they do not activate until the final hit of the special. So we'll see that a little bit later, where essentially, you know, it'll be this big barrage of special into your block, but then you can punish at the last second. It doesn't waste the charge. So here we go. This one is going to be with 51 necrotic energy, and again it's going to put on 9 of these corrosions, and he's almost down in basically no time. And let's just see how this fight ends. We punish one more time, and we'll throw this special 2. We don't even get to the special 2. Let's take a look at this time. How long did it take to get 3.3 million health? 2.5 minutes, right? So this is an ideal fight for him, obviously, but you can see the implications of how he's going to work in long form content. Now, next up, this is going to be a BG's centered fight where we basically are trying to control the armor and just get down this much health of a rank 3 champion in BG's as fast as possible. So we're seeing that he's good in the medium and the long fights. How does he do in the short fights? So essentially, we're going to start by trying to build as many Furies as possible this time. But then as soon as we get to 30 necrotic energy, we can throw a heavy attack. That will get the armor shattered up, and now his armor is off for the rest of the fight, which is just fantastic. We'll throw another special 1. So at this point, we are close to max ramped. We have our armor shattered, and we have 7 Furies. And here we're just going to... that time I didn't do it correctly, but you can see we barely took any damage. And here we are. We're going to basically close out the fight right here with just some combos and no problem at all. So that is a BG's level health pool, like not the hardest defender in the world, but 42 seconds against a rank 3 for rank 3 versus rank 3. I do think he's going to have some use in Battlegrounds as well. So next up, we're going to look at some armor utility. I know this is going fast, but I don't want to be just like babbling forever. We're just going to play the fights and talk about them. So this is future Ant-Man, and he is sort of overnight one of the best future Ant-Man counters, and that is because of the way Armor Shatter works now. It also covers the passives, which means that we will never get those armor replacements, those annoying passive armor ups that he gets, which means in general, we're just going to have a lot more control over him. Now, without synergies, we don't have any access to power burn immunity or anything like that, so we are going to still have to deal with a little bit of our losing our power when his power detonation starts. But you can see we've already gotten off the Armor Shatter. Because he is Sig 120, he basically only needs 2 combos before he can land a heavy attack that will get the permanent Armor Shatter up. And we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But essentially you can see no armors, no passive replacements, and he goes down in no time. That is about as fast as you can get against him in a Battlegrounds health pool. So next up, we're going to look at a 1.1 million future Ant-Man. So this is like if there was an Act 9 boss or something like that. How does he do in the longer fights? So first off, just notice because of the way the Sig ability works, we actually start with 0 necrotic energy in this fight, and that's simply because, kind of like Odin's Sleep, you need another team member to win a fight before you get that ability back. But in the other fights, we were starting with like 19. All that basically means is it's going to take a little bit longer to get the Armor Shatter. Right there, notice how the protection triggered because we went over the 75% threshold, and that meant we could basically fully block the special 2 and take like much reduced damage. It's based off of how much necrotic energy you have, and it can get up to 100% protection, but we weren't quite there on this fight. So we don't have access to any power burn immunity or anything like that without synergy, so we did take a little bit of power detonation due to the way he was controlling our power, but this is a long enough fight that I do want to have the special 3. Now, the way the special 3 works, the most important thing in my opinion is that your mediums will now give 2 necrotic energy instead of 1. It just means your ramping is a lot faster, especially if you're utilizing the counterpunch charges. Now that we've thrown the special 3, kind of like the other longer fights, we are going to start spamming some special 1s, and we have plenty of necrotic energy to spend to get the maximum amount of Furies. The targeted number you want to have before throwing a special 1, if possible, is 20 necrotic energy. We already have almost 60. The other thing the special 3 does, since I didn't mention it earlier, is it brings the maximum up to 80 necrotic energy, which means essentially you go above 60, you spend it, and then you still have a little bit left in the bank to start charging up to your next special 2. So we've got our 8 Furies, we have the Armor Shatter. The Armor Shatter is falling off. We're utilizing the end of the counterpunch charges to get our openings, which is super nice. Unlike Killmonger, which is just going to be wasting those charges in the middle of taking this barrage of bullets from the special 2, we wait till the end and we get in there. And listen, if that was an Act 9 boss, doing it that quickly and only losing about 25% health is quite impressive. I think for content, for big, annoying armor fights, he's going to be quite good. So next up, we're into the Abyss of Legends. This is Iron Man Infinity War, and I just want to show how fast he can get this fight down. The way Armor Shattered works now, it also gets rid of passives. This will also work for Medusa and Arcus and things like that. So once we get the Armor Shattered off, which we already did, it only takes 2 combos when he's Sig 120. I've mentioned that a couple times now. Then we essentially are going to be good to go for the rest of the fights. This actual Abyss fight does need an armor break in order to turn off the node, so we are taking care of that immediately. And like the other fights, we're going to just build to the special 3, and we should be good. So you'll notice I'm tanking damage, but it's basically because we're going up against a 6-star challenge rating, and we just have so much health, and we're just sort of regenning a little bit from these debuffs that we're actually back to a full yellow bar after I made several mistakes. Alright, so it's the same formula here. We go to the special 3 first. In my opinion, if it's like 2 million health or like 1.5 million health, that's the amount that you want to get to the special 3 first. If it's only 1 million or less, you can probably get through it without even doing a special 3. And a few things going on here. You'll notice we have the passive panic, which again is just ticking away for a little bit. Those will stack up to 10 if you want to use them. But now we're just building our necrotic energy the way we have the entire fight. We're getting to our maximum of 8 Furies, and we're going to just let the fireworks go off. The only thing that you need to maintain once you get into this section of the fight is just making sure that your Furies and your Armor Shatter stay up. So we can see that my Armor Shatter is maybe like 60% done. Every time we activate a counter punch, it's going to pause the effect, but there is of course the chance that it will run out and we'll need to get it off one more time. That did happen in the future Ant-Man fight on the one before, if I believe. But yeah, this is just cruising at this point. So the next thing I want to talk about is this will kind of set up the final fight after we just completely destroy this Iron Man Infinity War. You can see there we're already hitting the damage cap of 85k. I think we're hitting like 95k on those crits in real life, which is just absolutely insane. I want to talk about one more piece of utility this guy has, and it's the Pursuit debuff. Pursuit will turn off evade and miss in the form of a debuff. It's a very powerful debuff and it lasts for 5 seconds. Although with the Sig ability, it does last a little bit longer. It's one of the nice things about the Sig ability. Now, the way I look at this, I did test him against some champions that evade like Quicksilver or Bullseye, and he does work, but in general, I find myself not wanting to chase those types of fights that have miss and evade. However, the fact that he gets it just off of the counterpunch charge and it occurs like in the moment of the counterpunch, which means the next hit will not be evaded or missed, it means that it will not disrupt his tempo. So for the final fight of this video, we're going to scale things back to a BG style health pool, and we're going to go against Nightcrawler. Now, Nightcrawler is not the hardest defender in the world, but I do know that he has one of the most annoying evades if you don't have a counter. So we're going to just show you how this Pursuit debuff works and how a champion like this will not interfere with him at all. So we're shortening our combos at the beginning until we can build to the counterpunch charge. After 10 hits, we will get the yellow charge, which means as soon as we activate it, we get the panic. I was calling it Pursuits before, by the way. It's actually panic, so my bad on that. But the way panic works is it's miss and evade, and you can see he's just never evading, and we can just do our normal Thanos things without any problems at all. So right here we activate it off of the special, take a little bit of damage, but we regen it back with the Genesis, and this guy is pretty close to almost done. We just need to keep activating our counterpunch charges, which is the way that you play him anyway. You want to do that to keep your pauses up, to get the panic debuff up there, and we're really good to go. And that's the end of that. So evade champions, miss champions. He's not necessarily like an OP counter for that, but let's say they put a future Ant-Man on like the arrogance node where there's a falter every 10 hits in your combo. He's literally the perfect counter for that, because as long as you're keeping on top of it, he will absolutely get through it. So anyway, that was a fast-paced showcase of this guy. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. I do think he is worth the hype. For me, he's going straight to rank 3. He might even be my first rank 4 champion. I do think he is that good. As time will tell, we'll see how he is used in the game, but we're coming up on a Deathless saga where I just think a lot of people are going to be excited to have this guy and use him in content. We've showed he's good in short fights, medium fights, and long fights. He has utility to boot, and he's got a great armor control as well, with also being just an absolute tank, a little bit of chip damage regen, protection, huge health pool. Amazing champion. I didn't even mention he does have immunities as well. It's to poison and to cold damage, so he is pretty versatile and he's going to be an amazing champion in the game. So can't wait to get my hands on mine. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I can test out some more things for you. But that's going to do it for today. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.